So welcome to Anthro 101, a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Furry Fandom. This is an informative panel. We did this at Anime North and it went really well, so hope you guys have some fun. It's going to be very informative. It's also going to be really fun, and then at the end we're going to open up to Q&A, so if you guys want to answer or ask any questions that you wouldn't normally or would be nervous to ask any other furry, go right ahead. Don't be afraid to ask any question. Nothing is off the tables here, but as for myself, I am Fuzz Buttons, and then right next to me is Muttsi and Neville the Otter. So we're gonna just get right into it. So we're gonna start with the origins of the furry fandom. And you two, if you guys want to chime in at any point while we're going over these, definitely chime in at any point. So there's this weird thing we actually do as humans. We like to take animals and we put them in their mouths, like words into their mouths, and they talk back to us. Usually it's about us. And the thing is, what makes that even weirder is we've done this for centuries. And we've learned to read from anthropomorphic animals. We learn right from wrong from anthropomorphic animals. But most important is most people don't even notice it or just don't even care, kind of like bat an eye, which us furry fans, we're kind of like the only ones that actually notice this, and we use our fandoms to celebrate it. It's a social space that uses art and costume as an expression of self-identity, and it started from an underground taboo group to a socially accepted community. So, with saying that, the Furry Roots date back into the 1970s during the underground comics movement, which was a movement of genre comics that weren't deemed suitable for children. They were a little explicit. So here's actually two of the comics. One was called Freak. In 1976, though, there was a pair of cartoonists who created the Amateur Press Association, VUDI, which was dedicated to an animal-focused art, which many of them also featured adult-themed content. The true start of the fandom, though, started at a science fiction convention in 1980, when a character drawing from Steve Galucci's Albedo Anthropomorphics started a discussion on anthropomorphics in science fiction novels and led to the formation of the discussion of groups at comic book conventions. So here's a few of the comics. Some of the one on the right is a newer version of it, and then the other ones are a little bit older. So the term furry started in 1983 with the introduction of fanzines, which was comics based off of original created characters, which this actually became a standard in the comic genre in the 90s. So here's actually one, they called it Furtherance. Little explicit, but some consider the origins of furry fandom even more earlier than that, with movies like Kimba the White Lion in 1965, Richard Adams' novel Watership Down in 1972, which has a film adaptation in 1978, which if you've never watched Watership Down, it is an amazing film. As well as Disney's Robin Hood, just to name a few examples. So, what is furry? The furry fandom is a subculture interested in dressing up or creating anthropomorphic animal characters, where animals with human characteristics, such as walking on two legs, having intelligence, and the ability to speak, just to name a few examples. Furries often strongly identify with anthropomorphic animals. God, I'm going to be having a hard time saying that. Creating persona identities of themselves as said animals. We come in all ages and sizes, from teens and adults to those who have kids. And for each person, what it means to be furry will get you a different answer. Much like you would ask a sports fan why they enjoy their favorite sport or why do they root for their favorite team. So I know maybe some of you just got into this fandom and are still trying to discover why they're into the fandom. I know personally for me, the fandom actually helped me in a very dark and depressive part of my life, and it was because of the fandom I was able to get out of that and discover my social output again. I don't know about you two, but for me, the fandom was very personal for me. So I don't know if you just did it for fun, Muttsi, or if you found it was just more.
For me, it was definitely for fun. because it is a
You
lot
wanna
of
speak to
fun.
the mic?
But I was my first con back in March, and before that, I definitely knew I was more to it. Like growing up as a kid, Mom called me Muttsi from age 6 and on, my nickname, and that's how this character kind of grew. I had a puppy husky as a kid, which passed away suddenly, and that animal stuck with me. Like animals get into your soul, and my character grew from that. And that's where it came from.
And I don't know about you, Neville, if your character was more so based off of just for fun, or did you have something personal with Neville?
For Neville, I think it was just we started doing for yoga, and I wanted another character that I could do yoga stuff, because with my Tango, the Calico, he teaches Ojibwe, so I wanted something that can make homemade jams and be able to do yoga, so that's why I got Neville. Okay.
So like I said, everyone gets into the fandom a little bit different. They create their characters based off that, which, speaking of, what is a fursona? A fursona is a themed avatar based off of creators' furry anthropomorphic animal that they created. It involves picking an animal, real or mythological, to represent yourself, or less commonly designing a new mythological animal for yourself, because you're not restricted to being a real animal. You can create anything that you want. If you want to splice two animals together, you could do that. That's kind of like the limitation is your creativity.
Like, look at the wonderful dinos over there.
Yeah, exactly. Furries use personas to represent themselves when interacting with other members of the fandom, usually created off of personality traits and characteristics of oneself. Typically, they have names and are often inspired by artwork or fiction that they grew up with or were inspired by, and the degree of investment can vary. Some just do it for fun, while the others, it's a much more deep and meaningful thing. So much like Muttsi said with his husky and everything, and much like myself with my depression and just everything I was going through when I discovered the fandom, yeah, your degree of investment within the furry fandom depends on the person. It's very to vary, but we're all the same. I mean, we're all furries. So I want to talk about a little bit of like gateways to the fandom. So these are like shows, animes, movies that I consider kind of like entry points. So you're gonna probably know a lot of these, but generally or not, most people get into the fandom based off of like a movie or a television show or something that they're actually watched when they were kids, so that resonates with them. So we're just gonna go through a few of them. So like one is like Robin Hood in 1973. We got, of course, Watership Down in 1978, which once again, if you guys haven't seen this movie and you're furry, please go see this movie. It'll make you cry. This movie's amazing, really, really sad too. Kimba the White Lion in 1965. So this is a weird television show. My Neighbor Totoro, 1988, and really you could throw almost all of Ghibli in this section. All of Ghibli's great. Bambi, 1942. So a lot of these movies we all grew up with. Lion King, 1994. I know Lion King personally for me was my entry point into the fandom. I really resonated with Lion King, and I was just absolutely in love with this movie growing up. Same with My Neighbor Totoro. So I'd say My Neighbor Totoro and Lion King were my entry points. But Muttsi, what would you say was your gateway, or something that made you first discover that maybe you're a furry, or you discovered the fandom?
Lion King was one of them for sure. Sure, Lion King, and Over the Hedge.
Over the Hedge.
Over the Hedge got me, right?
How about you, Neville?
Well, mine's a 90s one, so I don't know if anyone will know this show, but it's the Dumb Bunnies.
Oh, I remember that show. Okay, so we're going to get into some furry stereotypes, because much like every fandom, there's always a stereotype. So these are general things that us furries run into every single day for some people that we call normies or fleshies, which we'll get into later when we get to terms. But so these are going to be some general questions that you'll either get asked or see when you're walking around as a furry. So being a furry means you're around in fursuit 24/7. This is actually not true, and fursuits are not required to be a furry, but And the reality of it, actually, us fursuiters are considered the minority in our community because there's more people that are out of fursuit than there are in fursuit. And that's completely understandable once you see the actual pricing of some of these fursuits. So is this a kink? No. Though with any fan interest, there are sexual themes present within the fandom, and it is part of a subculture for some. Others maintain a non-erotic interest into the fandom. So you think you're animals. It's complicated. So the short answer is no, but some of us do identify as our fictional characters a lot more than others. Are furries the same as bronies, aka My Little Pony fans, which I hear this a lot. And no, but we're not completely disconnected either. Majority actually consider bronies a subculture of furry, but that really varies depending on who you talk to within the fandom. I consider it as a subculture of furry, but others won't. Is furry a mental disorder? This is another one you're going to hear a lot. No, furry is not a mental disorder. It is an expression of one's personality and character. So, are all furries unemployed and live with their parents? Well, there are people in our fandom of all ages, so there's some truth to that. Sorry to point you out there. There's a lot of us who are full-grown adults with full-time jobs and homes, and we can maintain them while also being furries and having fun too. Are all furries LGBTQ+? This is one that you're probably going to hear a lot, and it is not true, but the fandom does have a lot more LGBTQ+ folks or LGBTQ+ supporters than you might actually normally meet in another subculture or a group. All right, so furry terms. This is a fun one. So we're going to get through these. So. Of course, a furry is an anthropomorphic media and its fans. Full fursuit is a full fursuit costume covering the entire body head to toe. Partials, full suits, which is what we're all in, which covers only the head, your feet, head, hands, and tail. Do not have to cover all of these, but generally it's your head, feet, hands, and tail. And they're definitely more cost effective than a full suit. A fursona is the character representing one's furry self. Fur meets are organized gatherings that include fursuiting, art, writing, parties, and more. We actually have a group ourselves called Possum Floops. So we do meetings ourselves, we do parties, we do fursuiting, we do a whole bunch of things like that. So you'll generally find a lot of those kind of groups within the community, depending where you're going. Fleshies. These are outside of the fandom, aka normies. There's nothing wrong with you normies, but you are normies and we do call you fleshies. PCD or post-con depression is the grief of having to become a fleshy again. I know, it's terrible. Breaking the magic is talking out of character at the wrong time or removing the suit around fleshies. So generally removing your suit around people that you wouldn't want to generally remove the suit on, or talking if your character is not supposed to talk. Some people talk, other people don't. It all depends on the person and how they want to make their character. Con crud. So you four should know this specifically. It's a rare itchy fungus that harbors in fursuits, aka the sweat. Please clean your fursuit, please. That is a real, I got a shrug over there. It's a real problem actually within the community. There's a lot of people who don't clean their fursuits, and you can tell the moment they walk into a room. Huggles or cuddles is also called the Furry Handshake, which is a hug, and it's typically a greeting amongst furries that falls over to cuddles for some. Scritching is grooming or massaging for affection. Hopefully you're doing that without con crud. that would be great. And hopefully not on Fan Expo grounds. YIF or yiffing is breaking the Fan Expo's policies and code conduct and anti-harassment. So we are not getting into that. You can Google. MARF is rejection of your YIF request, which is also breaking Fan Expo code of conduct. So please don't do that while you're at Fan Expo. Popufur is a popular fur, a woo or uwu, because depending on how you want to spell it, it's an expression of surprise or interest. Awu is a $350 fine. Okay, so we're gonna leave this up to the live Q&A. So like I said, if you guys don't be shy, if you guys have any questions at all that you want to ask, if you've been ever curious about anything within the fandom or anything, this is pretty much the time that you could do it. We have, I would check. Oh, we actually have a little bit of time. So yeah, if you guys want any questions, definitely feel free. Anyone?
Do you make your own suits?
Back. Yes. So Muttsi here made his own suit. I have a suit maker myself. He goes by Dexter. He does really good work. And I don't know who made your suits. Yeah. No idea. You can make your suit, and it's definitely a lot more cost effective if you do make your own suit. So. Definitely, if you can go, if you're creative enough and you're crafty enough, I would say go make your own suit. Especially if you mess up, like your first suit is never going to be the best suit, but I mean you made it yourself, so I mean there's some gratification at that. So I personally didn't make my suit myself. Would love to make my suit one day. I'm just so busy, so that's generally the question. You in the back, white tank top.
So typically, furries are not like furry animals, I guess. But like, I was wondering if it's like you can be like something that's not like typically like a sea animal or like a reptile.
Oh, absolutely. There's no creative limitation on what you want to do as a furry. So if you want to identify as a sea lion or anything else, go right ahead. Like I know someone who actually spliced a shark and a wolf together, and he's like a shark wolf. So I mean, like it literally it's all down to your own creative freedom and how you want to express yourself. So yeah, no, there's no limitation on that.
I also have a dragonfly soda, so.
You in the back.
So like, just to say, so if you're like in negotiation for like furry products, how much do you think like you would pay if they would like do the quality they would like pay you to like make products like mids, tabs, like how much do you think like something like a furry outfit would be?
I think this is a
I mean, like
question for
the
Muttsi.
average price of a fursuit,
Yeah, like how
basically. I saved a lot of money making my own. Doing it myself, I took a tally of all my expenses. So including buying machines, sewing machines and equipment, I spent $1,400 so far. And to actually purchase a full suit or just the head alone, you're looking at about $800 for a head. I've seen paws for $400. I've seen tails for about $400 as well. So it adds up pretty quick.
I mean, to put it into perspective, like this kind of suit, would cost you with a maker about like $1,400-$1,600. So you definitely save a lot if you go about on your own route. Yes, you. Red Dino. Yes, you.
Where do you buy your fur?
Oh, so this one's actually from Muttsi. It really depends. My fur, I know, was stupid to source. And because of the pigment of purple, it actually cost extra. So it was like $54 a yard for mine. Yeah, really ridiculous. But
I got mine from howlfabric.com on my fur, and something from fursuitsupply.com as well.
yeah,
And
those are two good
I had
sites.
zero sewing experience before March of this year. I learned everything on YouTube, and this is what I came up with.
Which you did a really amazing job.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yes, you over there.
Thank you.
One of you made your first one, right? Sure. How long did it take
I started late March, and it was very part-time. That'd be working on maybe like an hour, 2 hours a day at the most. So from March till now, and I just ordered more fur for a full bodysuit. But once you get on a roll, it turned out pretty easy actually.
Like he just finished his feed last week.
Yeah, but he does home unfortunately.
What websites would you recommend for like buying fursuits for pets or like Dynamax?
Yeah. Howlfabric.com for fabric and fursuitsupply.com. That's two good ones.
And I mean, if you're not above adopting a fursuit too, for some reason Facebook Marketplace is flooded with them. Yes, you in the back. Yeah.
What's the difference between like a normal furry and a scaly? Like a person that want to cosplay, like for example, a iguana or a scorpion, or basically something with like pinches instead of claws.
Basically, the main difference I've noticed, like I'm not a scaly myself, so I can't really say from experience, but I know is like shaving down the fur like completely down, so like to the point of it almost non-existent. So there's a lot of ways you can actually go about it. It really depends on what kind of scaly you want to be.
Well, and it's two-parter, and this one's two-parter, and if you like to do a spider fur persona or something, like would you rather do a furry type of arachnid or a furry type of a sea creature?
Ooh. I think I'd want to do a sea creature, to be honest, just because you just don't see it too much. But again, like really, you can do whatever you want with your persona and your fursuit. It's really up to your creativity and the way that you wanting to do about it. Of course, keep it with class. You in the back. Oh, so there's a lot of ways you can go about it. So mine has mine's a 3D mold. So I don't clean mine like a traditional fursuit would. Like some people, like they'll either like completely submerge their fursuits because it really depends on your material. Mine, I actually have to spray with a, I can't even remember the chemical that was called. Like, I have to order it online. It starts with like an E or something. But it's like a mix of like 8 different kind of chemicals. So like, I actually spray this thing down and like hand wash it. Some fursuits like Neville could be just completely submerged. It's really how you want to go about it. So depends on how you made, the way it's made, and just the way it's built. So yeah, that's, I don't know if you guys have anything to chime in on that, but
I use a carpet cleaner on the paws, the handheld carpet cleaner.
really?
Yep.
Wow. Yes, you.
Please forgive me, I'm a fleshy mom, furry.
Love it.
So after you create this beautiful, beautiful persona, other than going to conventions, where would you be able to be your furry self?
So that really depends on the person. I know personally for me, so I do multiple things in my fursuit. So when I'm not at a convention, I'll either be going to multiple different kind of fur meets with either in my local area, because there's actually a lot of different furry groups. So you could be living in a small area that you think has nothing, and there could be a furry group that's of like 20, 30 people within your area that you didn't even know
That's how I
about.
found him.
That's actually how me and Muttsi found each other, was due to the fact,
Find these.
yeah, usually Facebook, Twitter, they're all over social media. So generally for me, Facebook was a big help for that. Also, if you've heard of the messaging app called Telegram, that's also another great one. A lot of furries actually use that to communicate with each other. So, but yeah, no, really depends on your area and the type of person that you are and what you like to do. But I like to go on fur walks, and I also have a furry yoga program. So I generally actually do fursuiting at least like 3 times a week. Yes, you.
I'm just saying something about what you just said. I've seen furries at it's called Rec Room, and they were playing video games there.
Yeah, was that in Barrie or?
Yeah, I
Yeah, that was us. That actually was us.
thought I saw you guys.
Yeah, no, that was us, and that was our group, Possum Floofs. So like I said, there's multiple different kind of furry groups, especially around Ontario. So it really depends on your area. Just reach out to other furries, and yeah, there's multiple different kind of platforms that you can use on social media to get in contact with. Yes, you in the back.
Do you feel as if you make your suit as opposed to buying it? There's a negative stigma, I guess, in the community? And would you be looked down upon if you bought it and made it your own?
I really think that depends, because like I know a lot of people within the community that did not make their suit, like Sparky the Dragon, and they took the character and added the spin on their own. So I really think it kind of depends on the person. Generally, if you're taking in a character, you want to add your own kind of spin to it, just to make it, like I said, just to make it your own. But if you guys have anything to chime in on?
Well, for me, like, I see it as that you're saving if you're adopted, because someone's gonna be putting it in their corner of their house, it's gonna sit there, it could get kicked, it could whatever, right? So I think of it as, it gives you a way to make another character and have fun, and again, like we said before, Marketplace is perfect for a lot of getting fursuits, because like, that's where I adopt a lot of them, like, this is $200. Like, you can actually find like cheaper ones on Marketplace, so it depends on if you can have the imagination and creativity to be able to make a character from something else.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Also, purchasing a fursuit from a creator supports the artist, which I'm all for as well, even though I'm the one too.
And then for me, it's carrying on the legacy of that fursuit. So you're taking on someone else's character and not only making it your own, you're carrying on what they started. So I know for me, Fuzz Buttons, I have no problem saying this. Fuzz Buttons' original name was Lavender. So was a completely different character in comparison to what he is now.
And Neville was Bubbles before.
Yeah. So I mean, it really depends, like I said, on the person. Do we have any other questions? Yes, you over there. Yeah.
My little brother wants to know, how do you make those costumes anyway?
So there's a lot of tutorials and a lot of great tutorials on YouTube. So I generally, if you're wanting to take a stab at making fursuits, look up tutorials on YouTube. There's quite a few of them, but it's mainly like EVC foam, fur. Really depends on how you want to do it, how expensive you want to make it into it. There's so many different ways you can make a fursuit nowadays, and your resources are like endless. We've got one more. The toxicity. There's some really nasty people within this community, but I mean, at the same time, if I could take the toxicity out of every community, I would. So that would just be my answer, is just the toxicity. I don't know, but you two, what would you want to remove out of the community if you could?
Some of the stereotypes.
Yeah, definitely some of the stereotyping. Like, I don't get why when someone sees a fox half the time, all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's a sexual deviant. It's like, no. Which, yes, that does happen. When you pick your species, be careful, because you will be stereotyped into something. If you're a fox, you're a deviant. If you're a raccoon, you're lazy and a deviant. Like there's a lot of things like that. So it really depends on your species. But yeah, that's a good one. Neville, do you have one? No? Okay. Yeah, toxicity and stereotyping. Species stereotyping especially. Got any other questions, or? Yes, you.
No, me? Okay. Why would you consider the My Little Pony fandom, like the Bronies and stuff, like a subculture? Like, why don't you think, like, it fits under the furry mold if you think that?
Well, it's because within the community, there's there's My Little Pony personas.
Yeah.
So original character, like, there's a lot of different, there's a lot of things that relate with furries that are also with bronies. So you create your own original character, you make your own personality. Like there's a lot of different things that correlate with furry. And generally, too, you also see bronies and furries mingle together. So, but this is why I also said it's a very, it varies depending on the furry that you're talking to, because I'm a part of the community that sees it as a subculture within furry, but there's so many others that would be like, no, brony is wrong, brony is bad, but it's just like, why? Why can't we just get along?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, what are the reasons people don't see it that way within the furry community?
Again, it's just toxicity. It's just toxic mentalities.
Fair enough. Okay.
You're in the back.
So, just whatever, all
Oh,
the
see. So, first of all, zoophilia is wrong. You shouldn't do that. But that's a good question because it's a little touchy. There is people within the fandom that are like that. I personally don't support that part of the community. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on this, but I'm trying to keep like PG here because it's kind of against code of conduct. But no, personally, I'm not a big fan of it. All right, we have anyone else that wants to fill a question? Yes, you.
Would you recommend using a little green machine for cleaning Muttsi?
Yes, actually. Little green machine, like the little. Like, for my panelists, you want to explain exactly what that is, just so then they know?
It's a little handheld carpet cleaner.
A little handheld carpet cleaner.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I absolutely do. Especially just depending on, like, again, the way you make your suit, but generally most suits, they're stitched properly, so you shouldn't have any issue with it. Just check the cleaner that you're using. Make sure it doesn't, like, cause any staining or have any bleach in it, just so then you're not gonna ruin your pigment on your thing. But you should actually be fine with that. Absolutely. A guy in the green shirt.
So, what are some concerns then with the weight of this? Like, you mentioned stuff
Well, okay, so I can use my head as an example of that. So one of my big concerns I always have to worry about are my eyes, because my eyes, they cannot get wet whatsoever. If I get them wet, they basically just come completely unglued. And that's just because I have a 3D mold underneath this. So normally you could stitch that into this. I can't stitch my eyes in, so they're double side adhesive glued. So if I get any kind of water in this, and that includes raining too. I always have to be worried about the rain. If I get any water or anything in that, the corners of my eyes will start to fray and start to come out unglued. Another thing I have to worry about too are my ears, and again, it's just because of my 3D mold. So everything's kind of like all hot glued together for the most part. There's not a lot of stitch parts. But yeah, just generally just watching your stitching, making sure you're using a cleaner that's safe for fur and especially for costume. And I don't know if you guys have anything, you two have anything to jab, especially you personally for cleaning your suit? What do you have to look out for?
I do spray it down every day with alcohol spray,
Yeah.
and I clean the paws with pepper glue.
Yeah, so it's just, generally you just have to just use common sense. Yes, we'll answer one more question. Keep pushing. Seriously, keep pushing. No matter how much it feels like you're not getting anywhere, or you're not getting that audience, or getting the people that will see you for the talent that you are, seriously, keep pushing. It took me 13 years to get up on this stage at Fan Expo, and this to me, just talking to you guys is a huge achievement for myself. So And that was a 13-year grind of just doing this every single year, coming to the conventions and doing. So if you want something, just keep pushing for it. That's my best advice I can give for you, even when it feels like you are failing over and over and over again. Keep failing, because eventually once you do succeed, you're going to find those people that actually lift you up and take you to everywhere that you want to go. So that's how legends are born, really. So just keep pushing. Honestly, that's my best advice I can give to you. Okay, so thank you guys. Seriously, thank you for coming out. Like I said, this has been a dream of mine to sit on the stage for the last 13 years. You can follow us. I'm at Fuzz Cabinet on everything. Neville's at Neville the Otter, and Muttsi's Muttsi701, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have Possum Floofs, which you can follow us at Possum Floofs. We do events in the GTA area and all around Ontario. And we also have Furry Yoga, which if you guys are interested, we're actually going to be doing sessions Saturday and Sunday up in the free grass area on the south side of the building. So if you want to check that out and see what that's all about. It's a free event to promote physical and mental health, because that is extremely important to me. But seriously, guys, thank you so much for coming out for the panel. This has been awesome. You all have been great.
And both groups have telegrams.
Yes,
on
yes. If
Instagram,
you
Facebook.
guys are on Telegram too, you can go on the links on all those, and you can find that. But seriously, thank you so much, guys. You've been great. Actually, yeah. You know what? I'll answer that one. No, we're not in Discord yet, but we are making that. So keep an eye on our social medias, and we'll have that set up for you. Seriously, thank you guys. Thank you so much.